We are good to go. We can start the webinar now.
Okay, fantastic. Uh, Good morning, everyone. My name is Vikram Kulkarni. I have people from varied backgrounds who will be addressing this webinar today. Before I get into introducing them, I just wanted to make sure that I have Vikrant on the call who can give us a quick introduction to Succeed. Tell us about what the motivation is for doing this webinar, and then we'll get started. Vikrant?
Sure. Welcome everyone. Uh, as the founding partner of Succeed, I welcome you all to join this. Succeed has been supporting early stage innovation for last few years. We were running a Succeed Angel Network as well as another initiative in the name of Triple IT Seed Fund. Both culminated into a formal AIF Cat 1 fund as Succeed Innovation Fund. It got its license to operate under SEBI's guidance in August 2020, and we have been operating since then. Our fund is a small fund, 100 crore fund, but I think for the category that it supports in the early stage seed category and growth for the early stage companies, that's good enough for us to support around 50 companies. We have 6 areas of focus, like as the concept suggests. Tech innovation for masses. We support all areas which would be required for benefit and proliferation of Indian masses like edtech, health tech, fintech. With emergence of digitalization, security, fraud, and regtech have also become important. So that's a 4th area. Digital economy and emerging technology, which will focus on content, gaming, sports would be our 5th area. And the last one is enterprise SaaS. Right, which is one of the fastest growing sector across India. And I think this is where we would also getting together. So as a part of our knowing these sectors closely, we carry out research every year. We started this in last year during the pandemic time when we brought our first report on EdTech. And since then, we have been publishing our report in each of these sectors. If you go on our website, you will find these reports. They're free to download, give you a good perspective of how we study. And our endeavor is to keep reviewing this as a part of a regular ongoing annual research activity to furnish where the trends are. We cover global trends as well as Indian trends and try and highlight various sectors or subsegments which you need to know. If you could be an investor to know the sector in detail, or you could be a startup founder who's trying to understand various dimensions which you need to cover around your product proposition. So we released a report on enterprise sector opportunity 2021. After the release, we also create a webinar for people to come and engage. This event is in that direction, and this is getting live, streamed on Facebook, on YouTube too. So people who would have preferred to watch it on that channel and route, they would be watching it as well. We invite people from the sector. So our friend Vikram, who's moderating it, is one of our active members from the Succeed Angel Network and is also part of the 6 sectoral committee that we have created. So he's the member in the enterprise sector. He works very actively in that space. So I'm now handing it over to him to run the panel and introduce the panelist, and hope you guys enjoy the interaction. Over to you, Vikram.
Thank you, Vikrant. That was amazing. So I had the good fortune of being introduced to Vikrant a couple of years ago, and since then it's been a very exciting journey in the world of startups. I'll give you a quick introduction about myself, and then I will introduce my esteemed panel. I have been working in the IT industry for a good 25 years now. That probably gives away my age, but I started way back when we were doing TN3210 terminals and IBM mainframes. It's been a long journey since then. I have invested in a few startups, been mentored to a few startups, worked in very large companies like Oracle, SAP, and now I'm part of Salesforce. So it continues to excite me as to where technology can take us next. So enterprise as a service, if you guys remember way back, the first example of enterprise or software as a service, right, is the very, very simple web-based email. Whether it was, all of you remember your first rediff.com email ID or your yahoo.co.in email ID. Those were the first SaaS services, right? We all had those IDs. Since then, software as a service has obviously transformed into something that nobody can ignore today, right? It is not just email or delivering documents over the web. People are doing everything using software as a service, right? There are other aspects of this called platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. I'm sure all of you will get a chance to read about that on the internet. I will not get into that. So with that, let's get started with our quick discussion. And I would like to introduce my panel. Aditya, are you there? Yes, Aditya, can you turn your, yes,
Yeah,
all right. Aditya, who is, I think, one of our youngest members here. He runs his own company. So, he serves as the CEO of FAAD Network, a Gurgaon-based startup accelerator firm, founded in 2015. Looks like you started working when you were already 15 years old, Aditya. We would love to hear a little bit more about your journey as we progress through this session here. But very excited to have you here. I'm sure you will bring a lot of insight about what's happening in the world of investment, how you get to interact with startups. So welcome to the panel. I have Sonakshi, who is based out of Hyderabad. Uh, she's also, I feel so old talking to you guys, and you're also young. So she is also the co-founder and chief executive officer of Bikai, a very, very exciting model where it uses WhatsApp and tries to create a shop for all the other vendors. So we would love to know a little bit more about Bikai. Welcome to the panel.
thank you,
And
Vikram.
thank you. And then definitely we have Kanwaljit. He's the co-founder of Connect.ai. In the last few months, Kanwal, the number of opportunities I've had where I have come across AI as a medium in which they want to get into and understand customers better, I think is probably the fastest growing area that I have seen, right? Whether you want to understand reviews or you want to understand how the social media is treating you. So it's an exciting place where you're trying to bring analytics and the power of software together so that you're able to serve customers and to understand your customers.
Right.
So
Happy
welcome
be
to the
here.
panel, Kanwal.
Thank you, Vikram.
All right, fantastic. Good to have you guys here. So what I would like to do is start off with the biggest question, right? Why enterprise? Why are enterprising moving towards software as a service? I'll give a small, I'll give a very small update. One of the biggest things that I have seen as to why enterprises are adapting software as a service is because they don't have to install anything. I come from the world where if you had to get a software product, more than buying the product, the CIOs of these large companies, they used to be so worried about getting the implementation done in time, right? You had to find the right partner, you had to make sure the patching is done, you had to make sure you had the right network connections in place. So to me, the reason why more and more large companies have started adopting software as a service is it removes the barrier for implementation. And the second is it's available on tap. What that means is you don't need to worry about how much to buy, right? When we used to sell Oracle in the olden days, we used to sell implementation services, plus we used to sell them licenses as well, right? So just wanted to understand from your standpoint, Kanwal, what do you see is the reason for the growth in this industry?
So, Vikram, what I think is the people are moving, the companies need the software. And what was happening before was very, very large enterprises. They were like spending a lot of money to build these custom software. Now with the advent of SaaS, basically what is happening is like all these enterprise SaaS applications, they are now reaching each and every business. And like every business was looking for something like that. It's just that the delivery model has simplified so much that people are able to access, first of all, these applications. And I think another factor which is probably contributing a lot is in terms of internet penetration as well as the data security. I think the data security standards, they have reached to a point where people are comfortable where their data is sitting on the cloud rather than in the past, basically where they were like trying to hold on to their data very, very closely to their business.
Okay. Fantastic. So definitely internet penetration is one thing that has accelerated this trend, right? I just want to move over to Sonakshi for a little while. I think you have really found that niche with what you are trying to do. Can you explain to us how you have been able to go about and get this idea impregnated amongst the, I would say all the tier 2, tier 3 customers?
Definitely, Vikram. So, first of all, hello everyone, and I'm founder of Bikai, and we started this 2 years back in 2019. And as Vikram said, that what was the source of starting this, and it basically started from my hometown. So my family. So basically, what Bikai is, it's Shopify for India. We help small businesses build their own e-commerce store, which is WhatsApp integrated. And how Bikai originated was that my family runs a grocery store, and I saw a very interesting scenario that was happening around that time. They were basically had started taking orders over WhatsApp chat. So our consumers used to send a list of items they wanted to order, and my family was delivering it to their doorstep. So this was super interesting for me to observe, because them using any kind of internet, like as Kawaljeet said, that internet penetration. So I didn't see them using internet prior to this experience before. So I literally started sitting there throughout the day, understanding what's going on. And to my surprise, we found out that more than 50% of their time was going into consolidating the items that were being ordered. For example, somebody ordered a liter packet of milk and they had some different sizes. So they used to call back and inform the consumer. So this was a lot of hustle. So then we started looking for solutions, didn't find any suitable for them, because for them, internet is just about WhatsApp and YouTube. So any solution that they could use should be as simple as that. And hence Bikai was born. So that's how we started this, Vikram. Like, there was nothing in terms of starting a SaaS or enterprise product. It was a very genuine story that originated from a problem. And then we introduced a subscription SaaS model on top of it.
Yeah, fantastic. Just a second question to that. Do you think you can expand on this idea to go beyond where you are?
Definitely.
How do you think that can be possible?
Definitely. So I definitely feel Bikai is a global product, not just limited to India. There are two reasons to it. One is it's very much mobile friendly. So if you see the trend where the world is moving today, it's moving towards mobile based technologies. So I just don't feel like India is the only market that it will be limited to. And if you see the story that happened in 2010, which was basically Instagram replacing Facebook as the primary social media, it happened because of two reasons. One was phone became the number one source of internet usage, and second, it was to the point, like people just wanted to share photographs, and that was being enabled by Instagram. That's what Bikai is doing today. So I feel like it will eventually capture the world in terms of e-commerce enablement.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see a good fitment into this, right? Dovetailing into what Big Basket does. Rather than
Definitely.
somebody trying to download the app, just go WhatsApp.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right. So Aditya, good question for you. Now that we have been going through this pandemic and various different restrictions and lockdowns and stay at homes and all that, what kind of startup companies are you seeing that are coming to you? Are there some new innovative ideas that are coming about? Have you seen anything transform because of this? Are people able to take advantage of these restrictions? Anything like that would?
See, I think every challenge that comes to you as a startup founder has an opportunity and a threat alongside written on it clearly, right? The threat, of course, was that you maybe can't go out, you can't physically talk with your customers, you can't have on-ground distribution going at hand. But of course, it comes with a plethora of opportunities as well, right? And those opportunities are the ongoing digital presence, the rising awareness in the population of the country, the massive love that startups have received in the past 1.5 to 2 years, acceptance as well by people. So of course, there's an opportunity and threat, and for that matter, I believe the COVID, which it has been a great leveler, right? Companies which were built on strong fundamentals, companies which are built on strong value propositions, are the ones which have gone ahead and raised capital, right? And companies which were struggling for cash initially also before COVID, companies which did not have proper unit economics in place. For them, of course, it was a nightmare because capital raising at the start of COVID wasn't very easy, right? So companies which were not able to raise that capital in that very bandwidth were of course not able to survive COVID. And I think that's maybe a bit of unfair as well, but more than that, it's evolved ecosystem into a much better place. That being said, COVID, what it has brought is that every business that's starting today is focusing on digital presence from day one, right? Before COVID, you would have seen that startup founders would be saying in their pitches that, okay, please give us the capital. We'll focus on our digital marketing. We'll focus on setting up our socials. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and probably have much better online ordering coming up. But now investors have been asking that question in retrospect before raising capital, right? That what's your social presence? What's your active number of active users on the online sphere, right? How big and how creative is your social media getting, right? And that's become the deciding factor for investments. So definitely some of the sectors that you see, gaming is one of the sectors which has emerged beautifully in the COVID space, right? And not just online gaming, you see esports, you see real money gaming. So many segments have come up. Beyond that, of course, there are segments like Bikai, of course, which are creating change as well. A lot of innovation is happening on that sphere, where, of course, the end goal is, of course, a retail format, but the medium or the mode is an online presence. So definitely lots of startups you see are coming in that, where they are doing the traditional businesses, but in a very modern avatar, right? The digital presence. So gaming is, I think, one of the sectors which has made me very, very interested. Beyond that, fintech, of course, has been ever growing. Firstly, we were talking about wallets, and then we were talking about UPIs, and now God knows we're talking about so many things which are coming up in the fintech space as well, right? So for me, fintech and gaming is one of the space. And I think the third space, which was bound to happen, which was sort of waiting its chance, was the sector called as edtech, right? And edtech has come up and not just surpassed every other sector in the terms of number of deals, but also in terms of the capital raised as well. And it's kind of very inspiring to see that the same teachers who were saying that we can't teach, online education is nothing, are the same ones who are teaching now via Zoom or anything like that. It's very interesting.
Fantastic. So you think that EdTech already had a foothold, right, before we got into COVID? It's just that with COVID, it got like a rocket boost. There always was EdTech, I think, but it was very compelling. What do you think of that? Do you think it would have grown without COVID as well? By somewhere, I think that EdTech would have grown without COVID as well. I'd love to hear your opinions.
I think, see, there are two sectors which are recession proof. One is EdTech, one is health tech, right? No matter what happens, you will anyways try and educate yourself. No matter what happens, you'll try to take care of your health as well. So, of course, EdTech boom was there. And of course, there are many big names in the world, which of course initiated that change that, okay, online education is existing and you should try and focus with that. What COVID did was accelerated that pace, right? So I think the growth of EdTech, which was forecasted in the next 3 or 4 years, probably happened in 1.5 years, right? Because of a rapid online presence and growing mobile penetration. I think that definitely helped.
Yeah, that's what I think, right? They would have gotten to this kind of valuation or this kind of customer growth anyways. It's just that they just got this rocket boost. So I was also reading about the EdTech space in China, where they're trying to put a cap on it for some reason. It will be a very interesting article. I don't know if you people are subscribed to this FinShots. It sends you an email every day. Just gives you a very interesting perspective about various different things that are happening in the industry. One day it will be airline fuel, next day it will be something else that's happening in Libya or Africa. So some of you want to do that. I think it is run out of IIM Ahmedabad. Please do take a look at it. It's called FinShots, FINSHOTS. They're not paying me to say this. I just love it. I have my son who reads it every day, and it's a good dinner time conversation, right? Because it gives you a little bit of general knowledge as well. So I was reading out about this China EdTech, where they're trying to shut it down because they became bigger than the universities. So coming back to SaaS, Kanwal, one thing that has always intrigued me is this AI space. What kind of challenges are you seeing? Are you seeing people coming up to you saying that you're intruding into my space or you're intruding my privacy? Has that happened yet?
Not really, not really. Like I think sometimes the concern people basically show is that where they think that artificial intelligence is like maybe we are creating some kind of artificial humans, and most of the concern is around basically maybe that okay we are going to create technologies that is going to basically make humans obsolete. That's the only concern as such, but otherwise like there is no like concern in terms of like adoption of the technology. Like I think like people what they are realizing is that ultimately AI is basically kind of a feature over all the products which were already there. So it's like okay you are kind of adding more intelligence to it, and people are realizing like it's not really basically where it is completely taking over the world or something. It is like what humans been doing for the last 400 years. Actually it's like we are every step of the way we are automating more stuff. And it's not like okay when the wheel was formed actually all the horses were like kind of unemployed or something. Like we've been doing it actually all along, and AI is basically now like kind of chugging along where we are automating a little bit more of what was done before manually. And I think it's like I think it's evolving in a very beautiful way. Basically it is like in each and every sector there is a little bit of AI getting introduced, and the ease of using the software, the ease of the automation of it, everything is becoming better and better. And ultimately people are getting better services, the end users are getting better services, the businesses are basically getting better outcomes. So overall yeah, like I think I see that there is a good demand of it, there is a good acceptance of it. Sometimes yeah, as I said, like there is a little bit of fear of it, but not a whole lot. Actually when they see the value of it, they are very open to accepting it.
Yeah. Just an add-on question to that. Can you tell us a little bit about how Connect is helping its customers?
Sure. So we started basically we started with this paradigm that the computing world is going to move towards the conversational interfaces. So like how it started basically before it was desktop, then the web apps you can call it, then mobile apps, and then we feel that people are going to move towards more conversational interfaces where they would like to just talk to computers rather than basically be able to kind of go in an app, say sort and do a bunch of clicks there. So that was the initial paradigm. And as we basically started building more and more conversational automation, we started basically applying that towards marketing, sales, and support so that we are helping the enterprises automate their customer communication. So we have modules basically which help the marketing teams be more efficient in terms of engaging with the customers, sales team basically be able to set more appointments, be able to do more meetings, and the support teams actually able to take care of the issues in a more timely manner faster.
So would it be wise to say that you're getting a better view of your customer, getting more of a customer 360 kind of solution going, or is it more transactional? Do you also?
360, like in basically in terms of like, okay, what our customers are doing with their customers, right? So basically whatever from the marketing all the way to support, whatever communication is happening there and over multiple channels, be it on their websites or landing pages or WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, we are able to kind of see like what kind of demands their customers are having, what kind of queries they are having, and we are able to basically solve it like in a more automated way. So there is like a very decent, like what we try to do is where their teams are and our automation, we try to basically create a smooth experience basically where initially the AI is taking over, but slowly basically we involve their team members also whenever required. So even let's say like if the appointment is set, but the ultimately the meeting has to happen with a person. So yeah, like we pretty much take care of like from the marketing, sales, and support point of view, whatever the customer needs are, and we marry it beautifully with where the human intervention is required.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. All right, just changing gears here a little bit. Sonakshi, I'm so impressed with what you guys are doing. Would love to know what your experience has been as a founder running this company for the last 1-2 years, right? And then an add-on question would be, did you ever reach a point where I said, oh, I don't want to do this today, let me do something else? Did you reach that point? And if you did reach that point, what did you do next?
Yeah, so thank you, Vikram. being a founder, and it has been 1.5 to 2 years now, I would say like the only word that could justify the journey is a roller coaster ride. It's nothing less than that. And it was a huge, so me and my co-founder, we both are first-time founders, so we didn't have any kind of prior experience in terms of how challenging it would be. And I think that favored us a lot, because if we would have had those kind of challenges already in our mind, we wouldn't have ever started. So like when we started out, I remember the first challenge that came up was like a family pressure, I would say. Like they said that why run a free app when like whenever we do a business, it is basically for making money. So that was the mindset that used to clash with what we see in the market, like whether we should provide this for free or make it paid. But we ended up launching a subscription, and that worked really well. So like always, I would say, like always value insights from people who have done business in past, whether it be them running a small business or a large enterprise, doesn't matter. Take their advice. That's one. Second is, definitely there was a point, I remember 3 months down the line when we launched, that whether we are doing it right or not. It was pre-COVID, and like any input that we used to get was, this is not going to work in India, because there has been startups in during 2014-15 that have tried out this model and didn't succeed. So why would it work now? And the only, the I would say the point that made us continue on this path was like we were solving a real problem. Like we saw this problem real hand. So we continued on that. And then COVID happened, it accelerated the growth. So it solved a lot of challenges for us, like because now things started settling down, PMF came in itself, etc. But definitely those were challenges. And the biggest challenge for first time founder is obviously raising capital, because from outside, from media that we see, it feels like whoever has the capital has an upper edge to win the market. But again, like to all the guys who are aspiring entrepreneurs here, that's not at all true. I would say like the only thing that matters is build a product that people want and focus a lot on product until you get a PMF, and then start scaling. So I think like these are the points which I would like to say.
Yeah, Aditya is already very impressed, Sonakshi. He's looking to get a pitch. I'm not sure you guys are connected, but so that's fantastic. So during this journey that you just described, was technology a deterrent for you, or was it reach into the market? Was it experience? What was the one big thing that stopped you? I don't think technology would have been, but it's curious.
Stopping us, like as in like something that prevented us from
I mean, what would have been your biggest hurdle, right? Was it
hurdle?
technology?
Okay, no, not at all. Like thanks to triple IT, that tech was never a problem to us. The only problem that we faced in the beginning of the journey was distribution, because we didn't know how to market this product. We didn't know like how to penetrate in the market so that we reach to right audiences. The only thing we knew was digital marketing, running Facebook and Google ads. And that's what we did. We reached our profitable mark as well doing that. And then, like this year, this is also a very fun journey that we saw. Until December of 20, we were just running digital ads and focusing on product-led conversion. And that was working fine, I would say, not really well. But then we started studying different models of edtech. In fact, the fitness model like Healthify Me, other SaaS enterprises. And that's when we figured out like building a BD team now would be the right time. And that's what we did. And that scaled up our product really well. So that's something I would say. But yeah, definitely distribution strategy was something that was a hurdle to us.
Yeah. So if you go through the Succeed report, there are some good some good understandings that have emerged, right? If you look at why SaaS has been very successful, one is obviously flexibility, right? Ability to payment flexibility, scalability, accessibility. I think with your model, all those three things fall into place.
Definitely.
And obviously, the other things being collaboration, security, and maintenance.
Right.
But
what I feel is, Vikram, that for previously, like in the 90s era, world was something like someone else building a website for you. Then world moved to a model that do it yourself. So people started selling hosting services, etc., and then you can build your own website. Today, with the advent of AI and the automation, world is moving towards do it for me model. So that's why like every small thing is now being sold as a subscription. If you see Chargebee, it's basically if you want to invent a subscription model, you can use our service. So everything I feel SaaS is something that's going to boom a lot in coming years because do it for me is something people like a lot.
Okay, do it for me. I like that. You
Yeah.
change SaaS to do it for me. Yeah. So Aditya, quick question for you. We all hear these success stories from tier one cities, right? Any thoughts on how this could scale into tier two, tier three cities, or what do you think a startup founder should invest in? Because I believe that the real India lives in tier two and tier three. And any ideas around that? Because we hear success stories from tier one cities all the time.
I think that shift is happening. If you look at it, Vikram, that pace, a lot of tier two, tier three founders are coming up, raising capital, building strong, solid businesses. So that change has started to happen, right? And that's why I'm saying ecosystem has become more of more evolved and a more level playing platform for everyone, right? Because the actual innovation, if I tell you, is happening in tier two and tier three, right?
Okay.
Investors.
Some examples would be awesome.
Absolutely. I was saying. So as investors, we keep on saying that tier one startups, we're just done with it. We just received so many of it from Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore that we're done with it, right? We want to look at more in that. And I think in examples, because there have been so many examples. If I tell you, there's one company of ours which is in the medical SaaS space. So they are basically, it's a company called Med Delivery. They are basically a SaaS platform for wholesalers to manage their whole medical inventory marketplace. So they're doing amazingly well, and not only they raised their first capital from us, they went ahead and raised up to about 3 rounds of funding post that. So they're doing amazingly well in their own space. Then a lot of course, common portfolio with Succeed as well, which is amazingly doing well too, which of course we'll shortly announce. But apart from that, if I talk about it, there's so many examples as in this coming to my mind.
So the one I would like to prompt you on was, I had read this beautiful story about this boy who used to sit in his dad's shop. I think it was Kanpur or somewhere. His dad used to run electrical repair shop, and he came up with Khata Book.
Absolutely, yeah.
Have you heard of this? It's an amazing story.
Absolutely. Khata Book. So Khata Book, and of course, you see so many startups again in that sphere coming up because the market is so huge. You have OK Credit, you have Khata Books, you have Pagar Books, you have so many, of course, in that space coming up. So now, if you look at it, tier two entrepreneurs are not just coming, but they're solving problems within that tier two and tier three markets for their own local territories. And that's what making the whole innovation space very big. If tier two founders would have come up and said, okay, we'll solve it for metropolitans, there are already so many players who are out there solving for themselves. But what they're doing is they're not looking outside their window. They're looking first within their own homes and solving that problem from themselves, right? And as I said, capital has become more democratic. So now checks just don't move within metropolitans. Checks are moving in those tier twos as well, right? Tier threes as well, right? And that is why so many players are coming up. There's one company of ours called as Ingenium, which is of course building an education SaaS marketplace, which allows any coaching centers to manage their admissions, they manage their attendances, and to manage their whole operation flow. Again, guys coming from very small cities, of course, they went to IITs, but building a very solid platform in a market which, of course, has so much competition already. These guys have a proposition too, and doing amazingly well in terms of traction and everything as well. So not only SaaS has become one of the best growing sectors, but the extensions of SaaS, which is in either in education, in health, in retail, in fintech as well, those are doing amazingly well as well. That has been accepted by people because I think the focus has changed. No one wants to build these days, right? Everyone wants to adapt, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to adapt because of speed. So that adoption, you need SaaS.
Yeah. So Aditya, one thing I didn't hear you talk about is this gig economy, because that's where the tier 2, tier 3 cities are really making a big difference, right? Any quick segue into that?
But specific to gig economy, do you have like a question specific
No,
to
there's
that?
all these people who, just they post jobs on their app and anybody from anywhere can do it. Either it's a phone call or, people are filling out certain things. There is so much of gig economy kind of apps that are out there. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, and this is something which, of course, I've been putting my head on as well. That there is a lot of workforce which is there in tier 2 tiers, right? A lot of workforce which is underserved.
Mm.
This skill force which you thought was unskilled is now getting skilled these days, right? They have mobiles of the world, they have internet, they're learning a lot of things by themselves, right? They know a lot of things at hand. So conventional notions are getting big. This workforce right now, which is untapped, has a lot of potential in it. And this is something which we observed with our latest company called as HESA as well, where they're working with a lot of village level entrepreneurs and motivating them to do fintech investments, fintech payments. So they're doing fintech payments, offline fintech payments for villagers, right? So imagine sending 100 rupees to your relative without an internet connection, right? So such kind of innovation is being done by these village level entrepreneurs. So this a tremendous amount of workforce which is out there existing, right? And this workforce needs work. These guys are really deserving, and they are of course very hardworking, and they want work. They want to work at some place or the other, right? And that is why they're looking for all these Fivers and freelance and Upworks of the world. But of course, they're going towards a gig economy setup, because I think in COVID, what has happened is each and every one of us has a primary hustle, but of course, everyone is starting to look at a secondary hustle as well, right? Which becomes more part of our gig economy.
Yeah.
For that matter, I'll tell you, Vikram, I was not. I was of course all into investments before COVID, but then after COVID, I got the time that I saved from going out in meetings and traveling. I started focusing myself on creating content around finance, investment, and startups, and breaking some of the myths around that. So everyone has a side hustle. Everyone wants to work, right? And of course, location has gone out, has not become a constraint now. You can probably work from anytime, anywhere in the world, right? Just need to have an internet connection and a device. And definitely that's why you see a lot of gig economy setups coming up, people coming and doing various jobs, exploring beyond their potential and beyond what the convention is.
Yeah, great insights, Aditya. I think for young entrepreneurs who are probably listening to this, I'm sure they got tons of ideas from what you just told them. So just pivoting a little bit towards Kanwal, you are probably one of the guys who is doing a lot of B2B kind of work rather than talking to the masses, right? Where do you see the next big push coming? Is it going to be EdTech, HR tech? Where do you think the B2B SaaS market is going to move? Because that's where the real money is, to be honest.
See, I think I won't know that basically like a particular area where like the push will be more. I think like basically how it was, right? Like the SaaS evolved from where basically the initial SaaS was all into product development mode, like the DevOps model or the cloud model and all. And but like slowly basically it started penetrating into all the segments of a company like marketing, sales, HR. And I think right now, if you see, basically there is like a decent distribution across all the segments. Like there is SaaS is evolving in pretty much all the segments. And I think like right now for the India, basically, I think you will see the SaaS startups are going to come across like across the breadth there. And I think that the biggest reason I see that the Indian SaaS entrepreneurs, they have the opportunity is like lot of like the price points, right? Like a lot of innovation which happened in the Western world, the price point doesn't work for India. Like basically, if you think about like, okay, like a even Salesforce for that matter. But like the CRM price point, basically where like you have a salesperson whose salary is like maybe $50,000, they can afford to pay $200 for a CRM. But in India, where the salary itself is $1,000, actually you cannot pay $200 for a CRM per month, right? So similarly, like if you see the HR tech, the marketing tech, everywhere the price point, what the Western world is dealing with, it just doesn't work in India. And at the same time, basically the Western companies are not able to provide a like a supported SaaS model in India at that price point, basically, because let's say like if you want to give an accounts manager and a supported product, it just doesn't work for them. So that way I feel like there are going, you will see the talent wise and the innovation wise, like India is not really behind there. And we are going to see basically the Indian versions of, let's say like Khata Book, right? We are not using QuickBooks, even though QuickBooks is fairly cheap now. Like we are getting the Indian versions of all these SaaS startups. And I think like it is going to come up, like the capital is going to be a challenge, because typically investors like where Indian SaaS entrepreneurs are selling to the Western world at the Western price points. There, that's where you can raise a lot of capital. But I think like it's a challenge for the entrepreneurs, basically, if they can kind of move up for first few years with limited capital and kind of get that 1,000 2,000 customers. Basically they're like 50 million plus small businesses in India. If they can get to that point, I think like there is a lot of opportunity for the Indian entrepreneurs to tap the Indian market itself and then potentially grow global also, because their product is designed to be cheaper and designed to be kind of like the onboarding is supposed to be cheaper, the support is cheaper, and they can crack the market internationally as well.
Yeah. So that's a good point, right? I mean, if you look at Freshworks or Zoho, I think that's essentially what they try to do. Create an, I mean, why not? One of the biggest success stories from Indian software, if I have to think back, is Tally, right? Tally is embedded so deeply amongst the Indian population, and it was all made in India. Uh, just a quick thing that I kind of find this a little bit strange, right? We talk about so many different HR tech and ed tech and things like that. Do you see any innovation happening in the collaboration side, Kanwal? Like making a better Zoom? Or do you think that that problem has been solved?
No, I think see some of these softwares, basically like collaboration side, if you see like Slack or Microsoft Teams or Zoom for that matter, right? The problem is basically like you don't really only use Microsoft Teams. Basically, there are a suite of tools which are there, and I think some of the biggies of Western world, actually they have kept the price point also so low that there is some level like barrier to entry there. Like it's not easy to sell something basically where Microsoft is charging 125 per seat and you get like Teams for free there. But at the same time, I think right now, like I don't have many names to say that you see that, like Airmeet comes to my mind, where they try to basically create a Zoom alternative. But the use case is only where they're trying to do webinars, where potentially like thousands of people are connecting there. I think, but the opportunities are going to come, like similar to as Sonakshi was saying, whenever the medium changes, right? Like as basically before it was like maybe Facebook to Instagram or web to now more mobile. So whenever these kind of shifts happening, let's say like with the conversational AI also, if that shift happens, that opportunity is going to open up. And if you can pick on that, basically one thing that which you can do more uniquely, which is going to kind of make it work better in Indian ecosystem, maybe with lower bandwidth, like in the tier 2 cities with basically like a lower computing power mobile phones. If you can solve that, actually, yeah, like there is definitely space to innovate there, and it will keep on happening. Like there will always be something which the person who basically thought about a solution 10 years ago is like hasn't done. And if you can pick on that basically and build on top of it, you can still basically tap the market.
Yeah, with so much of the workforce now being remote, I always keep wondering, not just workforce, even students, right? Is there a cheaper, better option than on all these large companies? Because I've really seen students struggle through the last year, especially children who, probably go to the government school where they don't have these options. So I always keep trying to encourage people to, try to think about what are the different ways in which this problem can be solved. So, so one last thing, I think we have spent enough time on this. One last thing I would probably ask these three of you, I mean, the same question that would go at, I mean, is Kanwal, since you have the mic, what would be your one recommendation, suggestion? What would be your thought to the new entrepreneurs out there? What is one thing that you would ask them to do?
See, like I think basically it's you need to persevere. Like I think one thing I always tell people that if you are starting up, like you just don't give up before 4 years. Okay, whatever happens, like it is not going to be fun journey. Basically, a lot of things are like first 2 years are going to be like extremely hard while you try to find the product market fit. But the only thing which will keep you going is that you just refuse to give up. And the opportunities are immense. Basically, the capital, some of those availability issues will continue to come your way. And a lot of times you will feel like basically that maybe it is not going to be worth it, basically. But I would just tell them basically just at least give 4 years. And after 4 years, basically, if you don't figure it out, maybe it's okay to give up actually, but at least give that much amount of time. And a lot of times, another thing I would tell them is basically be open to adapt. A lot of times I have seen entrepreneurs basically where they start with something and after 2 years, 3 years, they're just banging on the same wall again and again without changing a little bit. Like you need to navigate. It's okay to persevere with your idea or the solution, but you have to navigate. You cannot just like keep eyes straight. You have to find alternatives, find ways how you can kind of either go to the market product wise, basically what to prioritize, like so that you can start selling. You have to navigate there. If you are just standing still, it is not going to help you.
Fantastic. That's what they say when you're swimming as well. Don't be in the same place, you drown.
Yeah.
That's good thought. What about you, Sonakshi? What do you think would be your one advice to the up and coming?
Yeah, Kaval has really covered it well in terms of perseverance. So maybe like I would talk about the trends that the new entrepreneurs could watch for. And definitely, as we rightly discussed before, that Indian economy is truly WhatsApp based and has been emerging in reality from tier 2 and 3 cities. So for example, like entrepreneurs should really focus on the real world problems. An example that I could give is we were talking about AirMeet, a webinar hosting software. Like if you see, and I like truly believe like each one of us here would have attended certain sort of weddings on webinar, Google Meet, and I definitely believe we can sell a really expensive software to these wedding planners because neither Google Meet or Zoom solves that problem today. So like definitely those are certain kind of trends we should keep our eyes on. That's one. Second is definitely WhatsApp. There are lots of things that could be done. Definitely commerce that we are enabling. Customer service, yes, but there are different kind of things that today are being done on web that could be bought on WhatsApp. So that's another thing which I could vouch for here, and would like if you have interest in that line, definitely try that out.
Yeah. So basically you're saying keep your eyes and ears open. There are opportunities all around you.
Yes, a lot. I feel like India is going to rule the world in SaaS software because human resources is really reasonable here, and that's what plays a huge role in the SaaS industry.
Fantastic. Same question to you, Aditya. What would be your advice? Anything that has helped your companies grow faster or?
More than advice to my fellow young people, it would be more of a motivation because that is what prompted me to enter into this space. Because a lot of myths, misconceptions around entrepreneurship, and that stops a lot of people from pursuing it. So definitely, I think one advice to you would be that focus on solving customers' problem from day one. That's the trend which is going to follow for always, right? That is where the success of a startup lies. If you're focusing on your customer problems and you're trying to solve it in the best way possible, definitely capital will fall. I think capital is not a constraint now. There's more liquidity in the market than ever. You are seeing so many fundings that are happening. You're seeing so many young founders who are raising capital. In fact, yesterday was me and Rahul Mathur were doing a Twitter space together. Rahul is the founder of Bima Pay. He comes from the same age group of mine. He's raised capital from Sequoia, Y Combinator, and so many of these guys. So look up to role models, of course, who've been there and done that and have been fairly successful and have experience as well. But then also start looking at role models who are coming from your age only and who are doing and creating and making a difference. I think it's time to also celebrate these entrepreneurs, celebrate their stories, and learn from them, more importantly, their challenges and how in the advent of in the advent of disadvantage, they went ahead and turned that into an advantage. That's the trend I'm going to follow. So go ahead, it's an exciting space, make a difference. And I feel
Fantastic. That's good advice. You make me feel very old, but I think they're good advice. So I'll just tell you one quick thing, right? My son, I have two sons. We were watching Shark Tank, and he was like, "Papa, tell me an idea. I will work on it." I said, my ideas will not work in your world anymore, right? Like what you said, it is the changing demographics. Who is your new customer? That's what really matters. So I think we have spent some very good time here, great insights, especially coming from Kanwal, who has been doing this for a while now. Thank you so much for your time today. Enterprise SaaS, as we know, will continue to grow. People like, what was the word you said? People are just lazy, right? Isn't that the word you use, Sonakshi? They want somebody to do it for you.
Do it for me.
Do it for me. So that concept is not going to go away. I believed in one thing for a long time that, my teachers always told me, necessity is the mother of invention. I have changed that now. It is laziness is the mother of invention. Somebody do it for me, do it now. But enterprise SaaS, it's a billion dollar industry, right? Whether you consider Salesforce or you consider Workday and some of these very large companies, and it will continue to grow. There is a lot of scope, like what we discussed today, is that maybe all of these large company ideas might not work in India, right? There might be chance for you to localize and get the same concepts done here. So a lot of exciting things to be done. I'm sure with the gig economy, with our tier 2, tier 3 MSME push, I think there is no limit to where we can go with this, especially with the exciting new ideas. I just got one new idea from Sonakshi, which I'm going to talk about later about. So with that, I would like to say thank you all. Vikrant, anything you would want to talk about or say a few words?
No, I guess this was a great conversation. I hope the participants on different platform enjoyed it. Glad that you guys kept it simple. Not many heavy jargons were used, which is always a good idea so that people can connect with it. And as we were saying, do it for me. We had done this for you by creating this reports. You have all the information. I'm showing it on the website. These are the 7 sectorial reports. We have done it. We have done it for you. You can download them and read it. If you are founders from any of these sectors and want to understand the trend, if you are investors in these sector, have a look. Similarly, if you think we could have done something additionally or differently, there are email IDs given. Please use them to give us feedback. Ultimately, if we need to work for our ecosystem, it's a good idea we work on collective wisdom. So your experiences and our ecosystem support will take us obviously ahead. So with that, thank you for joining and spending your weekday morning with us. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Thank you.
Thank you.